I'm Dr. Akeranda Smith. I'm a life coach, professor, and a thought leader.
Hi, and welcome back to my channel. I'm Dr. Ike, and let's get into it. First things first is hit that like and subscribe button. And I'm so happy that y'all decided to join me. So lately I've been talking about self-worth and how it can limit our ability to be able to have the best that we want in life. But most importantly, how self-worth is attached to our relationships with our parents. And so I've kind of been breaking that down and how it is attached to how we see ourselves through the lens of our parents' limitations or the lack thereof. So last week I talked about self-expression and self-advocacy and how it is related to self-worth. And basically, if you don't know how to advocate for yourself, then you can't really ask for what you want and what you need, which in turn is attached to your self-worth, because clearly you don't feel worthy of saying anything to anyone because you don't want to rock the boat and you don't want to offend anybody. And that is related more to what you saw as a child versus what you're actually doing present day. But if you don't know that, you'll keep doing it. So this week I wanted to talk about self-worth and self-acceptance. I also talked about in a previous video how when you're a child, you either wanted to fix your parents or please your parent. If you wanted to fix your parent, you were looking for self-acceptance. And if you wanted to please your parent, you were looking for love. And both look very similar, but they are very different. So fixing your parent, you kind of want to teach them how to love you. And if you want to please your parents, you pursue them and you chase them because you don't feel that they have what it takes to love you. And so you're forever trying to get them to stop and give you what you need. Very exhausting, but nonetheless, if you have experienced it, it is definitely a part of your story and important for you to know that. So this week we're talking about self-worth and self-acceptance. And I was the type of person who wanted to fix my mom. I looked for her acceptance. And so it kept me constantly in a position of a teacher. And to be perfectly honest, I felt a lot like that as an adult with my mom, constantly trying to help her to do her work in order to give me what I need so that we can in turn stay in a healthy relationship. And sometimes it worked and sometimes it didn't. And sometimes I was extremely exhausted. But nonetheless, what it taught me is that people have to come to their own aha and realize that relationships require both people to do their work. One of the things that I dealt with in life was my mom's grief. My mom never really dealt with her grief of having a childhood in which she wasn't accepted. So my mom had extremely poor boundaries as an adult and as a child. So as an adult, she was very overly involved in my life. Didn't really allow me a chance and an opportunity to really see my own self beyond her infringing on my abilities and what I was capable of doing and not capable of doing. But I understood that she was indoctrinated into a family system in which everybody had poor boundaries. Her mom had poor boundaries that they projected it onto her. And she had poor boundaries with her siblings, and she often was very bitter and critical of herself and of others. But it never projected like that lens. It just often projected off into others. She liked to believe that she was very good with herself, but her language and communication about things often led me to understand that she had a lot of grief that she had not resolved. And when you have parents who don't resolve grief, they often are very cynical about relationships, all relationships with friends, relationships with partners. And my mom was that. She didn't believe in love. She had been scarred a lot in relationships with friends and family and even partners. And she believed that she wasn't enough. And she mirrored that back to me. You know, she would often tell me, I don't want to be in a relationship. And hear me out. There's nothing wrong with being in a relationship if that's what you truly believe. But if it's another thing when you are projecting your fear of being loved in relationship off on other people, not necessarily because you don't want to be in a relationship, but more so because you don't feel like someone will love you for who you are. And so my mom, she would often say, she said, you know, I don't want to be in a relationship. I'm good. You know, relationships are so tough and challenging. I don't see how y'all do it. You know, but I began to understand as I did my work that that was my mom's grief. She hadn't seen any good relationships, and she didn't allow herself to admit that and say, you know, maybe I'm limiting my ability to feel worthy of love because I haven't really seen love. That's important to say to yourself. And so because she didn't say it to herself, I said it to myself. Because what I realized about me is that I felt differently than my mom. I wanted to be in relationships. I longed for it. I longed to be able to master something that I had never seen anyone do. And just because I didn't see anyone succeed in it, I didn't believe that I was any less worthy of it. But I also know that because of my mom's struggles, it was going to allow me to struggle a little bit until I understood what I just explained. But I wasn't afraid of that. I was like, okay, this is my lot for now. It's kind of like on the job training. You know, I was going to have to do my work, but also deconstruct my mom's unresolved grief in order to free myself, which in turn will free my children from having to endure what I did with my mother. And so for me, what I understood is when you don't learn fidelity, you struggle in partnership. And that's what I didn't learn with my mom. I never saw her successful in relationships and friendships. She had people that she valued, some of which was family and cousins, but I never seen my mom spend time with friends, make it a priority. I've never seen my mom prioritize herself in relationship. And so there was a season of my mom's life where she was in relationship, but even then, she didn't make it a priority. It was more so having something to fall back on just in case I get bored, or just in case I get lonely, or just in case I want a little companionship. But it wasn't like, no, I'm worthy of this. I'm going to make this a priority and put this a part of my life and make room for it. So for me, I struggled in partnership. Not so much in friendships, but I also think in friendships, I chose friendships, and I said this before, that more so I was looking for acceptance rather than realizing that the people in my life who wanted to be in my life had already accepted me. I just hadn't accepted myself. So, but where it really showed up was in relationships. I had really good relationships over my lifetime. I often reflect on that. But a lot of the partnerships that I had, I didn't necessarily appreciate because I didn't feel worthy. I felt like I had to do something in order for someone to show up in my life and actually want to love me. So for me, being married, it was a journey. You know, definitely being married to my kid's father, epic fail. I definitely focused on being a mother, but I understood it once I divorced him. But when I got into my now current marriage, I began to really double down on my work, and I understood that this was something I was going to have to heal if I was going to be successful in it. And thankfully, I have. So love involves the heart. And it's a feeling that you have to make your commitment to yourself before you can ever make it to others. When you feel worthy of people being in your life, you establish that way before they enter. It's an understanding, it's a deep knowing that you feel free, not only with your friends, but even an intimate relationship. And so for me, My commitment to myself has been a part of my journey. It's committing to doing my work, but also committing to loving myself and accepting myself in every single area of my life, so that when people come into my life, that they can feel just as comfortable with me as I feel with myself. I want to hear what has been your experience with self-acceptance and self-worth. I would love to hear it. Put it in the comments. As always, hit the like and subscribe button. I'll see you next week. Thanks for watching.